Good afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Tuesday afternoon, December 29th. We're looking at the SPY ETF's market profile here on Window Trader. And just like on Sesame Street, the letter of the day is the lowercase b for long liquidation. We saw it in Russell, we saw it in triple Qs, we see it in the ES and the SPY. Now, a couple of things, kind of upsetting if you're a buyer. First, let's go to the Russell. It's a B shape, but they did have a small set of single prints that held. So they're actually a trend day down, technically. But more worrisome than that is this sell tail. It's almost 300 ticks. Now again, I understand the market got stretched out. The market's tired. But that's a heck of a sell tail. It's going to take not easy to eat away into. So we'll see if that happens. First things first, they'd have to fill their single prints from today and take back the trend day. So it is a B shape for long liquidation and a heck of a sell tail. Triple Qs gapped higher to an all-time high just like we did, only to fill the gap in A period like we did and basically mirror us a good part of the day. They do go out though 11 wide it looks like. We only ended 8 wide I believe, or 7 wide actually. I'm sorry, they're 10. I don't know why that says 11. They're 10 wide, it looks like. 6, 7, 8, 9. Nope, 11 wide. I apologize. They are 11 wide. So they have something to lean on. And again, a B shape. And for us, only 7 wide. That 8 wide is end period, which I do not count. Now, I am going to use L's high as an afternoon rally high. I know I don't like using it, but it's the only thing I have to lean on besides today's high and low. But also because it's very visual right here. B's low, I's high, and L&M's high. Now, we did get above B's low and I's high, but we didn't really stay there. Change took place below B's low today. I was looking to fade lows earlier in the day because we were 6 for 6 wide, because it was a B shape. Value was overlapping to higher. Value ended unchanged on the day, but it was overlapping to higher at the time. Now, I had a good day. I did one trade after C period. I had an excellent A, B, and C period. I only took really one trade that worked out in G, but it did not work out based on what I was really looking at, but it did work out, and I'll go over it in a minute. And I took one small long in M that I lost small on. So, we also have a sell tail, but it's about $1, which is still pretty big, but nothing like the Russells. So, what happened today? We gapped to an all-time high. And we front run the overnight high, which was my first trade of the day. Again, I traded Thursday's expiration. Those were the 375 puts. Faded it, came in, went below the opening, had a nice trade on that one, 375 puts. Then as we pulled in pretty good, I was like, well, let's see if we're going to hold this gap and get a push up late in A. So I did take a call play, but it was good risk reward. It was down towards where the gap was. It was the 372 calls, filled the gap, got out. So I lost small on that, did not give back, not even close to what I made on the short in A. Then B period. We take out A's low. We're one time framing down, pushed up. I got short. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens at yesterday's high. It came back in. I made money on it. Not a lot. But we were one time framing down. Now we went back. Here's something unusual. We went back and forth through yesterday's high, the first 6 time frames. And then we went back and forth through yesterday's low, at least in SPY, 5 time frames. Or 4 time. Well, technically, yeah, 5 time frames. We took it out by a penny or 2. So it's amazing. That's so rare to take out both sides that many times and battle it. Now, the hair wasn't standing up on my neck when we took out yesterday's high because it wasn't just a look above. It was a huge gap, and we went back and forth through it 6 times. Yes, we finally got yesterday's low, but I wasn't basing it on that. So then in C period was my best trade of the day by far. Started shorting it again. Never took out B's high. Said I'm out above B's high. Started shorting it around yesterday's high. Every time it came down, and this went on for C and D period, this trade. Every time it came in, I took some off. Every time it went back up, put some more back on. I'm like, Yes, we're going back and forth through yesterday's high, but unless we stop one-time framing down, I'm going to continue to do that. And I did it, and it worked very nicely. Finally, in E, we stopped one-time framing down, but they got nothing for it. Now G, when F came down again, G came down. I wasn't short. I wasn't doing anything. I was like, I'm going to look to take a long to see if we come back in the range. So I didn't do it right away. Took 10 calls somewhere between F's low and yesterday's low. And then it started pushing. I'm like, okay, if we have single prints, I don't think I'm going to hold it, or I want to see what happens. But I did add 20 basically at the low of the day at the time. Well, it was the low of the day. And when those came up, took some off. So by the time H period started, even though the single prints were holding initially, I was in good shape because of where and again, that's huge trade entry. If we had taken out yesterday's low and really got acceleration into the gap, I'm out. But it kept going back and forth. So once it did that, I put on the other 20. And I made nice money on them. I was holding on to the 10. I finally took those 10 off in H period, right when it looked like it might fill the singles. It didn't quite do it, took them off. Now, that's basically what I did for the day. I took out H's high. I'm like, well, maybe they got some shorts caught. Just like E, it went nowhere. And J and K resumed the selling, and we go out with a poor low. And then I took a small long against B's low early in M. It came in, I took it off. I said, forget it, and I lost small on that. So here's the bottom line for tomorrow. It's long liquidation with shorts piling on. So this is how I see tomorrow early playing out. If we open above L&M's high, well, then anybody who's still short, and I believe there's still a lot of people short down here. Anybody who's still short and who's shorting it now in the overnight early, look at that print, would be caught in the hole, and then we can see some acceleration. Because remember, once I go to the destinations, there's no destinations. Above L's high, it's the all-time high, and then the overnight. So if we open above there, you can see some shorts scurrying the cover. But if we open below L&M's high, inside the range, well, they're going to continue to push. And if we open or get below today's low, well, anybody who's still short is going to really be emboldened by that, and then they're going to probably pile on and go for the weekly gap and the daily gap. So that's how I'm seeing tomorrow morning playing out early, depending on which way we open near L&M's high. Destinations for tomorrow. There's 3 on the upside. I'm using L's high as 371.97. That's a visual point to me as an afternoon rally high. That's important to get above. And then today's all-time high of 374. And then the overnight all-time high of 374.07. We just missed it today. For the downside, all we have is today's low. So our destinations are all over the place. So we close at 371.46. Our first destination on the downside is 370.83. That's today's low, and it's a poor low. Filling the weekly gap at 369.62. And then 370.83, today's poor low, and filling the daily gap at 369.03. That's a 180-point gap from the 28th. 369.06, 10 wide from the 23rd. 368.72 price spike from the 24th. And then a daily low of 367.45. And then on the charts, two days to go in a month. 2 days to go in a year. Monthly's healthy. One-time framing up out of an inside month. Certainly they'd like to stay above last month's high of 364.38 at the end of it. We'll see if that's accomplished or not. Weekly. Now, weekly's a little tough. I was going to actually possibly call this up because the gap's holding and where we opened today. But the fact where we closed is $1 lower than the previous other all-time high. I'm still calling this balance for now. We stretched the weekly balance by $1. So it's still a 5-week balance for now. We'll see by the end of Thursday if they're able to come out of it where I can call it up, or we're going to be firmly entrenched in a 5-week balance. And the daily, we gap above a 19-day balance only to come back into it. But for now, I'm just going to call it a 2-day balance, okay? They avoided an outside day down, which would have been pretty bearish. They certainly avoided that. They defended that nicely, the bulls. So for now, I'm just going to call it a 2-day balance since the gap's holding. If we fill this gap tomorrow and get sucked into this, then it's going to be back to a huge balance. But for now, we'll just call it a 2-day balance. I hope you had a great day trading. Have a great evening, and we'll speak prior to the opening tomorrow.